I'm so glad you guys are here. My name is Antoine. I'm the young adult pastor here at Elevate. Lots of guests tonight. If this is your first time to Elevate, welcome. Welcome, welcome. So glad that you guys are here. We want to get to know you, so don't be shy. If someone comes and say hi, we're not trying to attack you. We just want you to feel welcome and be hospitable. So we hope that you feel that you felt that so far in your experience with Elevate. Thank you guys for worshiping God with us. I love hearing the voices come together and worship when you guys are all in. So I really appreciate what we just did, just to do it with you and to celebrate God because of who He is. Today we are beginning a brand new series called The Bridge. And that series is about community and connection. Now, when I was thinking about beginning this series, I started to think about what are great pictures of multiple entities working together to accomplish a thing. And the picture that came to mind first was a school of fish. And so I went on YouTube to try to find some really cool picture or video of a school of fish like doing their thing. And I found some, but there was some wonky music associated with them. And so I thought, maybe not for the certain illustration. But check this video out. The other thing is these guys, right? These birds. I'm just going to let that kind of go because you get like mesmerized. Listen to that music though. You're like, But we've seen this in Walmart, right? Like this is like 3 minutes. You can do this for 3 minutes, or you can head to the local Walmart in October and see this exact same thing. But what's cool about these birds is that they come together and they do these beautiful things together, right? This harmony in motion, right? And it's kind of a cue that those birds know that they weren't created to be by themselves. We know that they're not always that way. There's times when birds are completely by themselves, but every once in a while, on a consistent basis, enough that we look at that and expect that those birds come together, they move together in motion. Just to know that they're not meant to be by themselves and not meant, created to be alone. I feel like that's the same way with us. I feel like God did not create us to be by ourselves, and so many of us as young adults have issues with loneliness. That may be you. Valentine's Day is coming up, and so that's usually a time for some people to take stock of what relationships they have and don't have, and begin to feel the emotions that come with that. Loneliness is a thing. And one of the biggest desires for you as a community generally as young adults is that you want to go and you want to be connected with other people. You want to be in community with other people. There's a famous quote that I don't know who it is that said it because lots of people say it now, but the quote is that no man is an island. How many of you heard that? No man is an island. Am I the only one? Okay, so maybe not so famous quote. Antoine said that and that was it. Okay, so no man is an island. Okay, so no man is an island. But this was the one that's really interesting to me. And this next quote, to kind of punctuate the thing that I'm talking about, is people are lonely because they build walls instead of bridges. I want you to think about that. Some people are lonely because they build walls instead of bridges. And so there's a lot of times the loneliness that we feel is, some of that's because we built a wall, and some of that's because we're part of a community that's built walls. We come to a community full of walls, right? And that might be fine for the world and for the way that the secular world does things, but God has a different idea for us. When we're born into God's family, when you are born into God's family, you do not come into a house of walls, just walls everywhere. But instead, the concept is that we build bridges. In fact, we are bridges. We are the thing that connect people to people. Those islands that people are on, we connect those islands. And so this sermon series is about that. It's about how do we, as a ministry, how do you individually become a bridge that connects people to the community. It becomes an answer to the loneliness that some of us are always kind of feeling. Y'all with me on that? Everybody's there? I think it's cool that the Bible expresses all emotions in Psalms 25, 16. It's not on the screen, but you'll just write that one down. Psalms 25 is a scripture that just is, the psalmist is just writing how bad he feels. You know, and in verse 16 he says, "Turn to me and be gracious to me, for I am lonely and afflicted." I think it's awesome that the Bible expresses that. And sometimes when you're feeling lonely or afflicted, and you kind of feel bad, and what kind of Christian am I that I would feel this way? Except the psalmist expresses that. But he does it in there because if you go to Psalm 68, he says this about the lonely. He says, "God sets the lonely in families. He leads out the prisoners with singing, but the rebellious live in a scorched land." Next slide says, "God sets the lonely in families." He sets the lonely in families. Now, we're part of God's big family, but what are these smaller families maybe that God has set aside for those of his children who feel this challenge of loneliness? Proverbs 18:24 reminds us that it says that one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. Everybody knows about that, unreliable friends. But there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother, right? So God kind of promises us, kind of the promise of being born into God's family is that loneliness really should not be a thing. That we should not have to go at it alone. Not only do we have Jesus, who is this friend that's sticking closer than a brother, but then we also have these families that God wants to set us into. You digging that? So I want you to know that you were made for connection. You were made for connection. Now the enemy likes to pervert everything, and so he will pervert your very desire for connection. And this is the key, because there's no desire in us that is pure of its own. I want you to pay attention to that. The desire is true, but it's not pure all the time, because the devil takes desires and twists them. That's what he does with sex. It's what he can do with food and hunger, right? You just overeat. There's a way that the enemy comes and takes our desires and twists them to make them about us and not about what they should be about. Right? And so in the concept of here, when we walk in, we say, man, I'm lonely, I'm supposed to get connection, I'm supposed to get community. There is a way that the enemy uses that desire for community and connection to draw us away from God that we need to be careful about. That's what I'm going to try to explain that to you in just a minute. Yes, there's a version of connecting and community and grouping that will leave us lifeless. It leads down the wide road that Jesus talked about. It leads us down this wide road that's crowded, right? There's a lot of people there. It sounds like a great community of people on this wide road. But there's a wide road that people go down, but the end, and it's full of popularity and prestige and pride, and the end thereof is destruction. So there's a lot of people on that road, and a lot of times the secular way of dealing with our loneliness and community has us on the wide road of destruction that I'll describe it here in just a minute. But Jesus does not offer that for us. He's got another way for us to deal with it that will lead to life. Okay, so we have two things to overcome. One, we have to overcome the insistent lies in our head that we are too other to deserve any real connection. It's the first thing we got to overcome. What I mean by that is, there's some of us who feel like I'm just not meant to be in a relationship with other people. We've got to overcome that. We got to overcome that. You're made for connection. You're made for connection with God and with each other. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to overcome the watered down, empty version of community that we often settle for. And sometimes we come to church to get this watered down, empty version of community. Have you guys ever seen, there's a show on TV called Humans, or it used to be called Humans. Anyone seen that? It's about these robots that feel very human-like. Or there's a movie that was made back in the day called Artificial Intelligence, AI. Similar thing, like these parents would buy a robotic kid, and that kid would be like their kid, like fill the role of a kid, but it's a robot. Right? And the thing is that because they can't get the real thing, they're going to settle for this caricature of the real thing. And sometimes that's what we do. We come to church and we say, I'll take any kind of connection. I'll take any kind of community. we got to be careful that God has something better for us and we don't need to settle. All right, so to overcome these two things, you need to know this. I think this is on the next slide. You need to know this, and I want you to say it with me after I show you. You were made to love and be loved. I want you to say it. Say, you were made to love and be loved.
You were made to love and be loved.
Say it like you mean it. Say, I was made to love and be loved.
I was made to love and be loved.
All right, I am made to love and be loved. Now, it's intentionally, on purpose, is I am made to love first and then to be loved. Now, the world might tell you that I am made to be loved. And that's the kind of setup, like, man, somebody's supposed to be loving me. Like, I'm supposed to, like, that's what the whole thing is. It's like, how come I don't have this connection? How come I don't have this girlfriend or boyfriend? How come I have this wife? How come I don't have whatever? Because I'm supposed to be loved by somebody. I was made to be loved. And sometimes we miss the fact that you were made to love others first and then to be loved. Once you're born into the family of God, Jesus says this. He says that they'll know my disciples for how they love one another. And in 1 John 4, 19 to 21, and that's something I want you to write down. I know it's a long intro, I'm not even on the main verse yet, but we're going to get there and I won't hold you long, I promise. I promise. 1 John 4, 19 to 21, and please read all of 1 John 4. Like, if you go home and need something to read tonight, read all of 1 John 4. Like, get it in, because it's a recurring theme here. 1 John 4, 19 to 21 says, we love him because he first loved us. And then it says, if anyone says, I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he does not love his brother whom he can see. How can he love God whom he cannot see? This is it. And this commandment we have. Listen, it says, and this commandment we have from him, that he who loves God must love his brother also. He who loves God must love his brother also. All right. So now, with all that in there, you say, okay, well, how do we navigate the traps of getting into the wrong types of communities? How do we begin to participate in loving each other well? Well, we're going to talk about that all month, but let's start in the passage, Luke 22, verses 14 through 17. So if you would turn with me, if you have your Bibles, or if you have a phone or what have you, and turn with me to Luke chapter 22, verses 14 through 17. Oh, was that? Oh, sorry, I thought I heard something. Okay, actually 14 through 27, I apologize. Okay, 14 through 27, and it reads this way. It says, when the hour had come, he sat down, and the 12 disciples with him. Then he said to them, with fervent desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I say to you, I will no longer eat of it until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God. Then he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say to you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. And he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in the remembrance of me. Likewise, he took the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the new covenant of my blood, which is shed for you. But behold, the hand of my betrayer is with me on the table. And truly the Son of Man goes as it has been determined. But woe to that man by whom he is betrayed. Then he began to question among themselves. Then they began to question among themselves, which of them would do this thing? Now, there was also a dispute among them as to which of them should be considered the greatest. And he said, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those who exercise authority over them are called benefactors. But not so among you. On the contrary, he who is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he who governs as he who serves. For he is greater. For who is greater, he who sits at the table, or he who serves? Is it not he who sits at the table? Yet I am among you as one who serves. All right, so I want you to bow your heads real quick. We're going to pray, and then we're going to fire through this thing. Father God, thank you for this time, thank you for this day. God, I ask you to come into this place and open our hearts and minds. Teach us what it's going to mean for us to step out of sense of self and isolation into spaces of community and connection with your family. God, go before us and let the words fall on ripe and good ground so that the seeds can grow into yield much fruit. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so man, he's like, that is the Lord's Supper passage. Like, what does that have to do with connection? Everybody thinking that. Some people are like, what? Has he got the right passage? It's the right passage. All right, let me tell you. First of all, the first thing I want you to know is that small groups of communities are important. Small groups of communities are important. Jesus had lots of people, but he also had his 12. And it was in this 12, when Jesus is about to go to the cross, this is his last supper, it's what we call it the Last Supper, it's his last supper that he's going to have with his 12. And he says that I have fervent desire to have this meal with you. Now, first of all, let's pull out of that and just say that this whole thing begins with Jesus. We talked about that last month, but we said that that the reason Elevate exists is Christ-centered, right? So the first thing we need to understand is the community that we have is built on the affinity of Jesus. It's built on the fact that we're all born into Christ's family through Jesus, right? So we're not built on how we like to hike together. We're not built on how we like to play golf together, how we all like to work out together. Those things might be cool. That's not the thing that holds us together. The commonality that holds us together is this thing that we are part of God's family through Jesus Christ. So it's important to first of all know that is what's happening. Now we gotta ask the question, why is this meal so important to Jesus? Why is this meal so important to Jesus? Well, there's some obvious theological stuff that some of you will know. He's redefining the Passover to point to the cross, right? To show that something new is coming, that he's going to take these old things and redeem them into something new, but that's not what we're talking about for today. Instead, what I want to know is kind of what that teaches us about community. What does that teach us about community? What is Jesus teaching them about community in this passage? Now let me first share with you that Jesus is the ultimate example of something great becoming something least. Would you agree with that? You can say amen if you want to. If you agree with that, then you say, okay, so maybe what Jesus is doing, this whole meal is about Jesus saying, hey, you recognize that I'm the Son of God, right? And they're like, yeah. Kind of. And then, so they're like, I'm on that. And he says, okay, well, check this out. I'm about to give my body to you and give my blood to you. Now, that's an upside down switch because normally gods don't give their bodies and bloods for people. People give their body and bloods for gods. Amen. That's the way it happened back then. You had all these sacrifices, all that kind of stuff. So this whole concept of God giving his body, saying, you're going to eat my body, you're going to drink my blood, right? You're going to take this meal that's symbolizing me giving myself away for you. I think there's something in that for how we need to enter into community with each other. Jesus' whole relationship is built around him who is great becoming like the least. You understand what I'm saying? Now, what else is important there? So he's doing that, that's cool. Then he says, hey, the person whose hand's on the table is going to betray me. Now that seems like a pretty telltale clue. Wouldn't you agree? Like all you have to do is look at the table. You're like, hey, whose hand was on the table when he said that? It was you, right? But the scripture kind of says that they're all like, man, who is it? Is it I? Which makes me think that all of their hands are on the table. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking about, why was it me? You know, like I would imagine to me, it seems like everybody's saying, isn't it true that everybody betrayed Jesus, right? I know we think it's Judas, but didn't they all leave Jesus? All right, I'm just gonna keep going. Okay, so we got the hands on the table. What does that mean for us? That means that this small group of people is not built on how they treat us, because these people are going to turn their back on Jesus, and he knows it. These people, he's going to give himself away to people who are going to betray him. To certainly one who's going to betray him in a very specific way, but really to all of them who are going to betray him. So clearly this is not a relationship that Jesus is winning out of. You see what I'm saying? Like if Jesus is like, what's in this for me? Well, at this point, there's not very much in it for him. He's giving his body away. He's going to die. He's giving his blood away. And he's going to do it for people who are going to betray him. Can you imagine now what you think about the 12 people in your life who have betrayed you in your past? They're about to be 12. Keep living, you'll get to 12. But, I know, I'm sorry, that's so morbid. Okay, maybe not. Maybe you'll just stick at your 3 or whatever. But so find the people that are betraying, right? And think about you're Jesus sitting at the table and you're going to go to the cross for them. And you know they're going to betray you. So this is a mentality that the person coming into a relationship, a community that Jesus wants to instill and create, the mentality that Jesus is exemplifying for us. Is that we got to come in not trying to be the greatest. We got to come in ready to give ourselves away to someone else, even if that someone else doesn't give us much in return, or, in worse, turns around and completely betrays us. So all that's happening, and Jesus is still serving them. And then he's going to go on and die. Now, I want you to don't sleep on the fact that this is the subject matter of the Last Supper. So of all the things that Jesus is talking about, he's like, man, okay, I got one more supper left that I'm going to talk to my people about. I got one more left. This is it. I got this conversation. Of all the things that Jesus chooses to talk about, he chooses to remind them and to show them, remind them that they're an example, that he is the example of selfless community action. Selfless community action for people who will betray him. As an example of how to pursue community like Jesus does. Okay. All right, so Jesus gives us this great example of what it looks like. Don't worry, we're going to bring it down to some really meaty stuff here. You're like, man, you're up in the clouds, yo. Okay, so we're going to bring it down now. So here's what it comes down. So for you and me, here's how this goes. We've got to deal with two versions of relationships. This is what it looks like. So relationships, and this applies to every relationship that you can think of, every social relationship. Maybe not the employee-boss relationship, that's a little different. But other than that, community groups, friends, you can even throw in relationships, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. This is the way it works. Now, I talked to you about how the devil will pervert our desire for community. This is how he does that. The secular version of community is driven by the ideals under secular, and the kingdom-based community is driven by the ideals underneath the kingdom. So here's a few things from the secular. First of all, everything can be covered by it's a me-based version of community. What that means is I'm entering into a community to get something out of it. That the reason I'm in a community is because there's something in there that I hope to receive. That's me-based. Right? Me-based says I'm going to withdraw. I'm using the language of withdrawal and deposit like in a bank. Like I'm going to go to the ATM and get that withdrawal situation out, right? So I'm going to withdraw. And what secular versions of community, a me-based version of community ends up looking like is cliques. That's how we end up in cliques. We're dealing with that here in Elevate sometimes. We got people who kind of get into little cliques, right? And then that leads into comparison. And can you be in mine? Can you be with us? Are you like us, right? Maybe you're not quite like us. Maybe you should be like the people who you're like. It's comparison. This is me-based, which leads to rejection. The only reason you reject people is because they're not like you. Because people like themselves. So if you're entering a relationship with me-based, right, then rejection is likely to happen. Because you're looking for someone who's like you. You are the central point of why the relationship should exist and what you can get out of it. Because of that, we get a lot of masks and fakeness. We can't be too vulnerable because, we got to keep up our face. So that, because if the people knew who we really are, maybe they would find out that we're not quite like them and they would kick us out. You understand? You got to say that part. Then we got this cool thing, which I always throw cool in there because I think cool gets in the way of ministry. Trying to be cool. So we just want to try to be cool, like, hey, I just want to be part of the cool kids, whatever. Again, that's back on cliques and comparison. So this is how this looks. Now, you can think about your life and think about how this works. If you go into a relationship, think about what you want to get out of it. This is the results. If you go into a place, a ministry like here at Elevate, we've got great people. I love y'all. It's beautiful, all the people in the room. But if we come to a place, a ministry even, and have these perverted versions of community desire, something that says, I want what's there for me. I'm going to come into and see, well, is there something that's fun or is there something that's interesting? Am I going to get something out of it? If that's the way we're thinking about community, then we're going to miss it. And we're going to have this secular version of community inside this ministry. That's not what I desire for this ministry at all. And deep down, that's not what you desire. You don't want this. You don't want to be only in a relationship where you can withdraw, and you really don't want the cliques. You understand that ministry is not like that. You don't want to be a place where rejection is in the room and easy to be felt. You don't want famous. You might want to be cool, but don't worry about that. I cut that loose. I should have put cool on there. Okay, kingdom. Now, let's think about how this is different. Again, with the Jesus mindset, Jesus says, hey, disciples, this is going to be about you. I'm going to enter a relationship saying, okay, how can I deposit into you? How do I enter into a community where I'm going to help somebody? When everyone's thinking about the other person, when it's you-based, then that's when real friendships happen. That's when people feel valued. Doesn't this start to sound like the kingdom now? True friendships happens when people actually care for other people. It's not about me, it's about you. And you get to feel valued because you don't have to perform for what you're receiving. It's because someone is gracefully, there's that gospel word, gracefully given it to you. So this kingdom of grace, you get real friendship and value. Now, how can there be rejection if I'm only looking to help people and connect with people based on how I can be a benefit to them? I don't even think rejection is even possible in a scenario like that. The kingdom is built around that. So acceptance is in there. How do I help you be better? How do I help you follow Christ better? This is all inside of the kingdom of God. Vulnerability, intimacy, and empathy. Because you don't have to perform, because you realize that, hey, I'm here for you. You realize that even the things that you're struggling with, the things that you're hurting with, the things that you struggle with, the things that you fighting against, you realize that even those things are helpful to other people who are going through those things. And you will lay on your cross of that so that other people are like, man, you know what? Because vulnerability breeds vulnerability. If I'm vulnerable with you, you're like, you know what? Yeah, man, I'm with you, man. I have the same problem. I have the same things, right? Vulnerability breeds vulnerability. So if we do that, suddenly we're like, man, oh, I can be real here? Wow, what a novel concept. I don't have to break the mask down. Like, I don't have to be in a place where everyone thinks they have it all together, but we're all kind of struggling, and it's okay because we know that even those struggles can be used to help someone else. That God can use us like He's used Job for thousands and thousands of years. And the stories of the Bible for people who struggle. Because we're not worried about what we get and what we can give, vulnerability is not an issue. Vulnerability is an issue when you're worried about what you're going to get, which is rejection. You understand? Vulnerability, intimacy, empathy. And then instead of cool, you get real connection. You guys following with that? So Jesus, in this scene, shows us this. He said, I'm going to deposit, I'm going to show you your value because of me dying for you. I'm going to let you know that you're accepted even though you're going to betray me. You see? And I'm going to be vulnerable and intimate with you. I'm going to lay on the cross. I'm going to tell you about, there's nothing much vulnerable than what He did on the actual cross. And as a result, they had a real connection. Now, so in a moment, I'm going to talk about small groups. One of the things we're trying to do is kind of build small groups this month and Elevate. And I'm going to ask you all to consider leading or being a part of a small group. But I don't want to do it with the secular mindset. See, it's not that I hate community. I hate secular community. I hate profit-based community. You understand what I'm telling you? I'm not into people who want to come and take and then leave. We want to build a place where people can come and give. And be like Jesus and give with grace. So when we talk about the small group, these are the things that are coming to your head. I'm going to ask you to join a small group. I'll ask you to connect if you can. And when you're going to do that, the first thing is when you walk into the room is, a lot of times what we think is, okay, what do I need? Man, I'm lonely, so I need friends, so I'm going to go looking for friendships. Yeah, that's what's in there. What do I need? Then you're gonna ask yourself, do I fit in? Do I fit in with these people? I mean, can I get along with these people? Do I fit in? It's me-based. I know, it seems reasonable, except that's the secular world. Oh, we got that up there. Okay. Who else is in the group? Kind of want to know how cool the group is. Like, is it cool people in here, or is it awkward people in here? Like, you know, if it's awkward, if I don't feel like I'm connected, I'm out. These are the things that get in the way of small groups. And then at the end of the day, what do I get out of it? What do I get out of it? Is it going to be good? Now, the difference between that and this, when you join a small group, or lead a small group, the questions you need to be asking yourself, catch yourself, and say, what can I give to this group? What can I add to these people? Not what do I need from these people, what can I add to these people? How can I show acceptance rather than worry about being accepted? How do I make sure that people in this room, if it's a bunch of awkward people or whatever, people that you don't really necessarily think you can get along with, why don't you figure out how to help them feel accepted? Can you imagine that if everybody in the group thought, I want to make sure that everyone feels accepted? You think acceptance just might happen? It just might happen. Who knew? And then they just ask the question, how can I help? See, this is the key to relationships. This is the key to marriage. This is the key to fixing marital and boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. You come to me and you talk to me about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, y'all in trouble. The counseling is not about me fixing your boyfriend or me fixing the girlfriend. The counseling is about me going to you and saying, what do you need to fix and how do you become you-based? How do you take your eyes off of what you're getting or not getting and start focusing on what you're giving? And if I can get the two people in a relationship to think like that, reconciliation happens. You see what I'm saying? This is how the kingdom-based community is supposed to be. And we need God for this, right? Because our natural selves are going to be this me-based thing. And that's why I asked you to take a look at 1 John 4, because it's a very interesting passage. All right. So one of the biggest needs in the church today is small groups. Small groups and young adults. Young adults, you guys know it. You guys are probably part of churches or what have you, and your church probably doesn't have only has a very few or doesn't have many young adult small groups, ways for you to get connected. There's a need for these groups, these communities, and Elevate, again, is prime position to meet that need. We talked about a little bit of those needs last week. And we gave a vision for what we want Elevate to be and what answers we think this ministry can solve for people. And one of those answers is we think that we can create small groups for young adults to connect to. We don't want to fall into the trap of being secular, but we do want to create gospel, disciple-making communities that people can come to and feel accepted in. Because there's not many in Collin County. Would you agree? There's not many. That's part of the reason why many of you are here. There's just not many. Okay, so let's do it. Let's go ahead and make some, right? I see no reason why the people in this room can't make some. Because I'm not going to I can only do like 1 or 2 groups, you know? I can't do like 20. Like, everybody can't be part of my small group, right? So and you don't want to be part of mine anyway. Like, I'm the teacher guy that, you don't want to hang out with me. You want to hang out with, like, y'all. You're like, how do I add to Antoine? That's not in the question. Don't worry about me. Y'all deal with each other, see? If we can get the groups made, and we can get this as the culture, this concept of being you-based, figured out in that, I see no reason why those groups wouldn't grow, and then people who are looking for connection, the type of connection that God offers, they can find it here. But we need you to be a part of it. We're going to do communion here in just a second. We read the scripture about communion, and communion is a time where we, who are believers, remember what Christ done for us. And normally, it's very Calvary, and it's very grace-centric, and we're thankful for what the gift that God has given us. But today I want you to think about that, but I also want you to think about that he did that at the expense of himself. That this God-man entered into relationship with you and I saying, this is kind of about you. You have an issue, and I'm going to give away the things that I have so that you and I can have a relationship. And so, while you're remembering that that Christ saved you by spending his blood on the cross, I want you to also to think that, remember that Christ set this example for us, that relationships are outward. And that's what the kingdom is about. That's why he says to them later when they're fighting about who's great, right? They're fighting about who's great. You can see how that would go, right? Can you imagine all their hands are on the table, and then they're like, oh, they probably try to snatch their hands away, and they're like, nah, man, it was you, wasn't it? And they're like, man, it can't be me because I did this thing. He's like, well, what? I did this thing, and they start comparing each other, and I guess it can't be me because I saved this person, and I did, and they start to argue about who's the greatest, and then Jesus comes in and he says, listen, the way the world does it is the people lord over them with their greatness. But the way I do it in the way of the kingdom is that I serve. He says the greater is the server, the person who's serving. The upside down nature of the kingdom. Jesus is the example of that. So when we take these elements, if you're saved already, then you know what to do. You come, take a little piece of the bread, you dip it in the juice, say a little prayer of thanksgiving to God for what he's done for you. And I'm also going to ask and challenge you to consider asking him to change your mindset where it needs to be changed from secular to kingdom-based, from me-based to you-based. And then begin to ask him how he wants you to live that out. Be ready, because that means that he might ask you to put something on the cross. And that's part of what it's about. And he might ask you to do that for people who don't like you, or people who have rejected you, or people who have betrayed you. But it's not about them. It's about you and the way God wants to love them through you. That's how the kingdom happens on earth as it is in heaven. Bow your heads with me. Father God, as we come to take these elements and sing, God, I ask you would move in us and prick us and challenge us, God, to be less egocentric in our service and in our sense of community. God, that we know that you've given us this desire to connect with people, that you created in us this hole that only our Christian family can fill. God, that we are people who can love and be loved, love others and be loved by them. Father, I ask that you would allow that to be real and true, that this be a thing, that this is where the rubber really grips the road, right? We can come to do a lot of Christian things and gather together and sing songs, but unless we really begin to change the way that we think and forsake the patterns of the world that's me-based, and really begin to embrace this concept of living a life filled with grace and love for others, and until we do that, maybe we're just walking through the motions. God, I pray for Elevate that you raise up leaders this month. God, that we go past 10 small groups this month. That people step into courageous obedience. And say, you know what, I'm going to give this try. I'm going to step in. I know that I can play a part in saving and affecting the eternal destinies of my peers and the people around me. All I have to do is say yes to a few simple things. That we'll be committed to that. That we'll move our schedules around so we can make those things happen. God, also that you can be glorified and that you can use us to love others, so that they can feel acceptance, they can feel connection, they can be vulnerable and find intimacy. Do it in us today, God. God, as we take these elements, we thank you for what you've done. Thank you for dying on the cross, for being the example for us. In Jesus' name we pray.